Hello there, thanks a lot for dropping by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and this is Pete, Paul, and Mary. Obviously a folk music institution throughout the turbulent 1960s, right? And I've got an interesting concert poster tour blank here to show you because it was used for the longest period of any tour blank I've ever known. This was literally started in 1963 when they burst upon the scene until the early 70s. So it was used all through the 1960s, and to me, for a number of years, that holds a record. It's kind of interesting because, you know, most musicians would want to change their concert posters and tour blanks as, their, music changed, styles changed, their hair length changed, or just general trends. But boy, in 63, upon forming and, bursting upon the scene, PPM and their manager and the Murray Poster Printing Company came up with this timeless evergreen concert poster design that would serve them very well for a decade. Now, of course, that doesn't mean other concert posters weren't made in the 1960s. I've even blogged one or two, and of course they were, but they were designed and used by independent one-off promoters in any town, USA, because they had their own, graphic designers or whatever style they wanted to present. But those were all one-offs, and so I'm pretty sure this is the only reusable concert poster for PPM throughout the 1960s. And I'm starting off with what happens to be the earliest one that I've ever seen of this design, going back Sunday, December 22 of 1963, the year of Blowin' in the Wind and Don't Think Twice, the Dylan songs in the top 10 for Peter, Paul, and Mary. And you've got Kleinen's Music Hall in Buffalo, New York, down there in the red venue information. But taking it from the top, you do have manager Albert B. Grossman Presents. He, of course, formed Peter, Paul, and Mary, managed Bob Dylan, and later would manage Janis Joplin, very high-powered manager. And, of course, the group name is in that very highly stylized script that sort of became their logo. It graced their first album cover the year before in 1962, and boy, did it work well. I mean, that was the biggest album of their career, spent 7 weeks at #1. And so this, name logo was used by the group on every album cover for the entire 1960s. And then you've got their 3 familiar profiles there, as you can see, and not in the same order as their name, but, how often do you see Crosby, Stills, and Nash pictures? We're in the right order. Even on their album covers, they're not in the right order. That's just the way it is. So, as you well know, you've got Peter Yarrow on the left with his eyes closed, Mary Travers, and then Paul Stuckey. Don't forget, Paul Stuckey's real name was Noel Stuckey, but Grossman didn't like the sound of Peter, Noel, and Mary, so he had him change his stage name to Paul. And of course, all 3 are in the act of singing, and there is a photo credit above Peter's head for Bernard Cole. Then, directly under the photos, you have that small black line you probably can't quite read. It's all just, business details. Milton Oken, musical director. Boy, he was one of the most influential music producers in history. And then under Mary, you have the booking agency, ITA, and finally you have the record label with a little Warner Brothers shield there, Warner Brothers Records. To me, this business line under their photos, that black print, is really indicative of Albert Grossman's button-down business nature. He really had his act together and was really a champion for his artists. There's all kinds of concert posters from the early 60s like this that are very loosey-goosey and informal and ridden with mistakes, but not when Grossman was in charge. So, delightfully, I have 10 posters using this tour blank to run through you today, so I will run through them rather quickly. And it'll just be interesting to note the way the venue information was handled down there below, how it was handled differently, and the different fonts and so forth. By the way, I should point out one consistent thing in the lower right-hand corner there, Murray Poster Printing Company on West 64th Street in New York City. And this style of red block printing here in the venue information, very familiar to poster collectors, and a real giveaway that it's a Murray, used, for example, on their Bob Dylan concert posters of the mid-1960s. And if you had a deviation in this look, it probably meant this tour blank cardboard concert poster was just sent out blank, with this down here just being white, and then each city's, whenever it was used, local printer would then strip in the information themselves. So okay, let's go ahead and hop through these 10. So the next one I have to show you is from 1965, and interestingly, as you can see, they've added a white border around the upper portion of the poster to give it a little bit of a framed look, kind of an interesting touch. And then down there in the venue blank information, I think that's probably non-Murray printing down there. That was probably done by the local printer. And as you can see, though, it's still printed in red. And we're talking Atlanta, Georgia, on Sunday, January 24th, with no year given, but 1965, with tickets available at a record shop and a camera shop. And then in 1965, only 2 weeks later, you've got this poster with the year given, interestingly, from Columbia, South Carolina. And that definitely is not Murray printing down in the venue box. And tickets quaintly were available at a pharmacy. And this one is from only 3 weeks later at UC Berkeley, and the border, interestingly, is now gone around the upper portion, back to the bleed effect. And there in the venue information it does say Harmon Gym, and presented by the sophomore class. That's really fun. And then down at the very bottom, written in by hand, it does say tickets at the door this Sunday. And I've got a fourth and final one here from 1965 to show you, and we never even made it into spring. Check this out. Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas on Friday, March 19th. Dallas radio station KLIF Presents is included in there, and tickets start at just $1.50. That's the cheapest of all 10 concert posters I'm going to show you today, but they were on sale at a rather hoity-toity location downtown, Neiman Marcus. And for the next poster, I jumped to 1967, which was a darn good year for Peter, Paul, and Mary. I Dig Rock and Roll Music found them back in the national top 10 since the Dylan days of 1963. And interestingly, you do have your first case of black printed information down in the venue box down there. DAR Constitution Hall, the biggest concert hall in our nation's capital, and DAR standing for Daughters of the American Revolution. For 2 days in February of '67, and tickets available at all Super Music City stores. And the second poster to show you from 1967 is from March 18th in Norfolk, Virginia. And notice how dirty and messy that white venue box is down there. But of course it could be easily cleaned up by any poster restoration expert. And then we go into the fall of 1967 in Albany, New York. And tickets are available at music stores in Albany, Schenectady, and Troy. Okay, and last but not least is an understatement in this case. Check this one out. Lincoln, Nebraska, from late 1967 for Peter, Paul, and Mary. Obviously venue information that was not printed by Murray, but by a local printer there, most likely in Lincoln. And we've got Friday, October 13th at, they really want to let you know, Pershing Auditorium in black print. Now I didn't save, I didn't save the best for last. I took these chronologically, right? Well, it just so happens the best came last, because not only is this, really cool venue information, but take a look at this. This thing is fully and beautifully autographed by the 3 band members. How wonderful is that? Boy, those SIGs are about as good as they get. If you're an autograph collector, you know that you want no funny business and a high contrast background like that, first and last names, and probably signed, the night of the show or that week, it's almost certainly. So it's really just a really sweet touch, needless to say, on a concert poster to have it autographed by the group. So there you have it, a tour de force of Peter, Paul, and Mary throughout the 1960s. And if you happen to know of one of these posters from the early 70s, if you have an image of one, or from before December of '63, the first one I showed you, I'd love to see it. Please, if you wouldn't mind sending a JPEG or something, that'd be great. Thanks a lot for dropping by today. Hope you enjoyed it. And take care. We'll see you next time for something that won't be 10 posters, but hopefully just as interesting. Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.